The moment it happened, the entire street seemed to freeze. A black luxury car had barely stopped outside the towering glass building when chaos erupted. A man burst from the crowd, shouting angrily, pushing past security as cameras flashed and people scattered in panic. In the middle of it all stood a powerful CO, elegant, composed a second before, but now suddenly vulnerable in the bright daylight of a busy city morning. And before anyone else could react, one man stepped forward. He wasn't a bodyguard. He wasn't part of the security team. He was just a single father who happened to be there. What he did next would change both of their lives forever. If you believe that one act of courage can change destiny, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes in kindness, and subscribe to Heartfelt Stories. Your support helps us continue telling powerful stories that remind the world humanity still exists. The man's name was Adrian Kovac, and most people who passed him on the street never noticed him. At 36, Adrian carried the quiet exhaustion of someone who had faced more storms than sunshine. His life revolved around two things: his small daughter Mila, and the endless responsibility of raising her alone. 3 years earlier, his wife had died suddenly from an illness that moved too fast for doctors to stop. In one painful season, Adrian had lost his partner, his stability, and the future he thought he understood. What remained was a tiny apartment, a stack of unpaid bills, and a 5-year-old girl who looked at him every morning as if he were the only safe place left in the world. So Adrian became everything at once: father, mother, protector, and provider. Every morning he woke before sunrise, packed Mila's lunch, walked her to school, and then headed to the downtown construction site, where he worked as a maintenance supervisor for a large corporate building. It wasn't glamorous work, but it kept food on the table and gave Mila the small routines children need to feel secure. That morning had started like any other. The sun hung bright above the city skyline, reflecting off glass towers as commuters rushed down sidewalks with coffee cups and phone calls. Adrian had just finished inspecting a delivery entrance behind the building when he heard the screech of tires and raised voices from the front entrance. Curious, he stepped around the corner. A sleek black sedan had just pulled up to the curb, and photographers were already gathering. Adrian recognized the building's owner immediately. Her face had appeared in business magazines, news articles, and corporate announcements posted in the lobby. Her name was Valeria Hartman, the youngest tech CEO in the country. Valeria was known for transforming struggling companies into global successes. People described her as brilliant, fearless, and impossibly composed. But standing there in person, stepping out of a car under the bright midday sun, she looked less like a corporate titan and more like a woman simply trying to get through another busy day. Then the shouting began. A man pushed through the small crowd of journalists. His face burned with anger, his voice rising above the city noise as he accused the company of ruining his business. Security guards moved quickly, but the situation escalated faster than anyone expected. The man lunged forward, and in that single second, before security could reach him, Adrian moved. Years of instinct kicked in. He stepped between Valeria and the attacker, grabbing the man's arm and redirecting his momentum just enough for security to take control. The entire confrontation lasted less than 10 seconds, but the impact echoed to the stunned crowd. Camera flashes exploded. Voices rose. Security dragged the angry man away. Adrian stepped back immediately, brushing dust from his jacket as if nothing unusual had happened. But when he turned to leave, he noticed Valeria watching him. Not with the distant politeness of a powerful executive, but with genuine surprise. Their eyes met briefly before security escorted her inside the building. Adrian assumed that was the end of it. After all, he was just a worker. People like Valeria lived in a completely different world. He returned to his duties, finished his shift, and picked up Mila from school like always. But the next morning, everything changed. When Adrian arrived at work, the building's head of operations approached him with an unusual expression. "The CEO wants to see you." Adrian thought it was a joke. Why would someone like Valeria Hartman want to speak with him? Still confused, he followed the manager up to the executive floor, a place he had never been before. The elevator opened into a quiet hallway lined with glass offices and polished marble floors. Everything felt expensive, distant, and strangely silent. Then the assistant opened the door. Valeria stood near the large window overlooking the city, sunlight pouring across the room. She turned when Adrian entered. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The difference in their lives hung silently in the air. Then Valeria walked toward him slowly. Instead of the formal gratitude Adrian expected, she did something completely unexpected. She reached out and gently took his hand. Her voice was soft but steady. "Yesterday you protected me, and you didn't even know who I was." The words carried something deeper than simple thanks. Adrian shifted uncomfortably, unsure how to respond. He explained that anyone would have done the same thing. To him, it hadn't been heroic. It had just been instinct. But Valeria studied him carefully, as if she were trying to understand the kind of person who would step into danger without hesitation. In her world, most people acted out of ambition, opportunity, or personal gain. Yet Adrian had walked away without asking for recognition or reward. That alone made him unforgettable. Over the following weeks, Valeria quietly learned more about the man who had stepped between her and danger. She discovered the small apartment, the long work hours, the little girl waiting every afternoon for her father outside school. She also learned something that touched her more deeply than she expected. Adrian had never once told anyone at work about what happened that day. He had simply returned to his life. But Valeria couldn't forget it. One afternoon, she made a decision that surprised even her closest advisors. She asked Adrian to join a small internal team responsible for building safety and employee well-being across all company offices. It wasn't charity. She believed his instincts, his calm under pressure, and his empathy could help protect thousands of employees. Adrian hesitated at first. He had never imagined working in a corporate office. The idea felt intimidating and completely outside his world. But then he thought about Mila, about the future he wanted to build for her. So he said yes. Months passed, and slowly Adrian's life began to change. The new role brought stability, better income, and something he had almost forgotten: hope. But what surprised him most was Valeria herself. Behind the confident CEO was a woman who carried her own quiet loneliness. Her career had demanded sacrifices most people never saw: long nights, endless pressure, and relationships that faded as success grew. Yet, whenever she saw Adrian speaking proudly about his daughter, something inside her softened. She realized that courage didn't only exist in boardrooms or billion-dollar decisions. Sometimes it lived in a father packing lunchboxes at sunrise. Sometimes it lived in choosing kindness, even when life had been unfair. And sometimes it appeared in a single moment on a crowded street, when someone stepped forward simply because it was the right thing to do. If this story is touching your heart so far, take a moment to like the video and share it with someone who believes the world still needs more compassion. Because the ending of Adrian and Valeria's story proves something powerful. One quiet afternoon, nearly a year after the incident, Valeria invited Adrian and Mila to a company family event held in the city park. Children ran through the grass, employees laughed freely, and for once the corporate world felt almost human. Mila held her father's hand tightly, while watching balloons float into the sky. Valeria approached them slowly. She looked at Adrian with the same thoughtful expression she had worn the day they first met. Then she said something that neither Adrian nor Mila expected. She thanked him again, not just for protecting her that day, but for reminding her what real strength looks like. And as the sun began to set across the park, she admitted that the moment he stepped forward had changed the way she saw people forever. Adrian didn't see himself as a hero. He still saw himself as a father doing his best. But sometimes the smallest actions echo louder than we realize. Sometimes courage begins with a single step, and sometimes the people who seem the most ordinary are the ones capable of extraordinary kindness. Before we close this story, tell us something in the comments. Have you ever seen a moment where a stranger's courage changed someone's life? Your stories might inspire someone watching today. And if Adrian's journey touched your heart, please like, comment, and share this video so more people can hear stories that remind us how powerful kindness can be. Because somewhere out there today, another quiet hero might be about to step forward and change a life forever.